Hello, my name is Megan Dolan, and I would like to welcome you to DLNA's VidiPath in European Markets webinar. Throughout the webinar, please enter any questions you may have in the questions box in the GoToWebinar interface. Technical and certification questions will be answered by a DLNA expert offline after the webinar. VidiPath enables service providers to stream subscription TV and their custom user interface to any VidiPath certified device throughout the home, regardless of the CE manufacturer. As U.S. service providers are announcing support for VidiPath, now is the time to discuss how VidiPath can be successful in European markets while improving your bottom line. I would like to take this opportunity to introduce our speakers, Sam Rosen of ABI Research and Michael Andre on behalf of DTLA. Sam manages ABI's teams in the areas of pay TV and OTT content, consumer electronic devices, and mobility. Sam's 20 years of experience in technology and strong industry relationships help clients to identify competitive forces and map out winning strategies in a rapidly changing market. Michael will be speaking to us on behalf of DTLA as our technical workgroup chair. He is also senior R&D engineer at Intel. I will now hand it over to Sam.
Hi, good morning, and thanks to so many people for being on. I'm just wrapping up my time here in Berlin at IFA, and we'll be heading back to the United States this morning. Again, I appreciate so many people coming on. For those of you that don't know ABI, we are a market intelligence company founded in 1990 with significant numbers of areas of focus. As Megan said, I've owned our TV and video area for some time, and in that position regularly interface throughout the supply chain of video, from chipsets all the way up to services and everything in between. So we have a holistic view of the market, and probably have had conversations with many of you, and look forward to having conversations in the future if we have not. The modern pay TV environment, as you know, is one of extremely rapid change. Service providers and of all types are trying to keep up with the pace of change. Some of the challenges that they face, in some cases the broadband pipe can still be limited. I know many European operators, many European operators have somewhat limited bandwidth, and the capital investment cost of upgrading to DOCSIS 3.0 and 3.1 may not be economical in all parts of their footprint. And VidiPath can help to use the broadcast feeds to get further in the network and in terms of the delivery of your services. As such, it can have your service be more responsive in the home environment, leveraging that broadcast feed. It has benefits for both the big screen, that is the TV, and for the small screen. For the main TV, set-top boxes can be certainly a cost problem in delivery of some services. And for small screens, that is tablets and smartphones, we're all too aware of how authentication can inhibit consumption. Some of the authenticated services where you might rely on programmer or broadcaster applications, first of all, from the consumer standpoint, have too many applications, and from your standpoint, disaggregate you or remove that relationship you have with the customer, and may also cause a fragmented user experience from the consumer. As a package and experience, therefore, you do have that fragmentation challenge from the consumer standpoint, but you also have a problem of fragmented rights, especially if you're talking about IP delivery of different content. And finally, TV everywhere, while it does address multi-screen devices, doesn't address every TV or every screen in the home. And so all of these challenges, VidiPath has some opportunity to address and to help you to solve. For those of you that aren't familiar with VidiPath, VidiPath is a service provider service that delivers video to every screen in your home. It can address a wide range of devices targeting the primary TV via connected TVs or smart TVs, via some of the smart set-top boxes and game consoles. You have the option of rolling out a thin client set-top box or dongle type set-top box running a VidiPath client. It can also address other multi-screen devices, tablets, smartphones, and PCs. The specifics of the protocol include discovery. The devices look for a VidiPath server in the home and discover that VidiPath server in much the same way that DLNA services have always been published in the home. And in addition to some of the things you may be familiar with DLNA, it delivers a user experience via remote UI and provides content protection. So it is a more secure next generation format for delivering not just streams of content from one device to another, but delivering a unified experience. So it includes in it the delivery of the guide, the video itself, and it allows the remote control commands to be pushed back and forth. And it's based on very sound and future-proof technology that's widely in use, including HTML5 with content style sheets and JavaScript-based UI, as well as MPEG-Dash being one of the supported formats for the video streaming. It can be sold to consumers in many ways. There are many benefits that VidiPath can help bring to your consumers. The first, and I think the most important to remain competitive in this environment, competing against Netflix, entering into an increasing number of European markets, increasing content, as well as other players, is that you can deliver content to all of the screens in the home. There are opportunities to go from leasing a set-top box to leasing a smart TV. And I think in conjunction with some of the TV manufacturers to do promotions around VidiPath, this can be really impactful, especially in markets where consumers may have limited discretionary income, or there may be a reach of consumers that pay TV has been out of bounds, but the ability to to get a new TV may be a driving motivation for the consumers. The TV itself, I think that the set-top box has some usage barriers and some ergonomic or home decor barriers. So TVs can look really great. You get a really nice slim TV, the latest OLED TV or the latest high HDR range of color TV, and so you can use just a single plug and either over Wi-Fi or perhaps over an Ethernet or home networking cable. It supports a single remote control with a modern UI for that service provider service, so you don't have this challenge of multiple remotes in the home. The HD quality gets delivered throughout the house, and it works the same. You don't have to worry about returning your set-top box, especially as VidiPath adoption becomes more pervasive through more service provider territories. On the tablet, the vision for VidiPath is that you can get all of the service provider content delivered regardless of, it has strong benefits to rights, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but going away from those 10 or 12 broadcaster or cable programmer apps and going back to a unified app with a very consistent experience to how pay TV operates on the main TV, watching all of the content that's available on the tablet regardless of rights, and that will allow controlling the content, watching live content, and watching VOD content. From the operator perspective, there are both business benefits and technology benefits to using VidiPath. The business benefits include having a unified platform that can deliver content to all of the different devices. It has a universal solution based on a common HTML guide that can reach smart set-top boxes, can reach tablets and smartphones. So it allows you to have a single technology framework that can reach all of these devices. It provides benefits in terms of the set-top box capital expense. You can use consumer-owned devices or sort of BYOD mentality that can decrease the upfront cost and give a lot of installation flexibility. As we'll talk about with Michael in a few minutes, it has very strict content protection standards, ability to manage devices very securely, and so it will fit in within your DRM and licensing agreements. As opposed to previous iterations of standards-based video delivery within the home, because it is based on a remote UI, it allows you to retain complete control of the user experience through a common UI. It works for both large and small service providers. While large service providers might have the ability to develop applications for 3, 4, 5 app stores, or at least 2 tablet and smartphone operating systems and 3 or 4 TV operating systems, this allows a common solution to reach all of those devices. And we know that some service providers are looking at going back to becoming a pure internet service provider, but it happens that video services are very emotional services for customers, and so to be in that business can be a good business from a marketing standpoint. So finally, from a business benefit, the licensing requirements can be better with VidiPath. You have your managed delivery into the home in most cases, and so that entire scope of content can reach any screen in the home with the VidiPath approach in most geographies, most regulatory environments. Technical benefits of VidiPath include, as I spoke about this, universal platform agnostic HTML5 guide, and further, using IEEE 1905.1, you can have a single management, authentication, and provisioning domain that understands what the devices that connect to your service are, that can credential each device individually, manage those credentials, and deliver services based on that management. It supports a number of end category devices, so you can use it for a thin client set-top box where a consumer doesn't have a VidiPath capable device, and then as more CE manufacturers come on board, you'll have an increasing array of VidiPath devices and the ability to deliver to tablets and smartphones. The VidiPath supports live content, VOD content, and DVR content delivered from a gateway set-top box, and we'll talk later about a cloud set-top box, or a cloud provision service rather, to those devices. And it provides a very good mechanism to transition from QAM to IP delivery, or broadcast to IP if you're a satellite provider, to IP, leveraging either in-home gateway set-top box, customer premise equipment, or a cloud-based IP headend, or some combination of those. And it supports adaptive bitrate with transcoding if you have a wireless device in the home and you need to deliver without buffering to that device. I spoke about the provisioning, so there is a framework for validating and authorizing individual devices based on the credential and the certificate that they have. And this allows you to be in control of the business rules in conjunction with CE manufacturers, incentivizing CE manufacturers, providing those sorts of packages, marketing and promotional packages around your services, tying your service to new devices that people resolve. And at some point, it solves the long tail of devices. So even if operators choose to put native applications in the iOS and Android frameworks, and perhaps Samsung, LG, and whoever is top in their market, the third TV manufacturer in the market, then they still have the ability to reach all of the other manufacturers that implement VidiPath. And so it can help to solve the long tail problem of applications. Additional benefits of VidiPath from the technology perspective. HD is supported on VidiPath, and UHD will soon be supported in VidiPath. It can leverage the broadcast infrastructure, as I spoke about, and avoid both content delivery network costs and other costs of handling IP traffic. And it can lower the CPE CapEx and really get service providers to a point where they have a single gateway in the home and bring the assets back to sort of that central point. It is based on very widely deployed standards that will be in use for the next several years. So we have DLNA compliance for operator services, the HTML UI framework. Most devices have very good HTML5 browsers, and so you can have very responsive user interface leveraging HTML5, and content protection with DTCP IP, which is approved by all of the studios, and very future-proof in terms of the ability to support hybrid broadcast and OTT delivery, leveraging MPEG-Dash, and it has the ability to support addressable advertising inside broadcast content, so really improving the business model around the content. It is operationally ready for service provider use cases. I spoke about 1905.1 that allows remote diagnostics to the connectivity. That can help you isolate the failures between the service provider network and the home network and have the appropriate business model around that. There's the DLNA organization and members have spent a lot of time in the last couple of years creating very low power modes that allow tools for devices to wake up idle home gateways. And you know, we know that's very important within the European Union in terms of the energy efficiency regulation. And it has additional extensible modes that will help to keep track with future regulation. A lot of people are concerned about the cost of rolling this out. We took a look at the number of cable and satellite gateways within Europe, broken down by the three largest markets, and then other boxes in Western and Eastern Europe. And based on our assessment, there are 25 million gateways that are already deployed that operators could turn on immediately to support a VidiPath rollout. The existing pace of set-top box rollouts will extend that by about 5 million in the next 5 to 6 years to reach 30 million households. However, there's also the ability to have cloud-hosted VidiPath, and that could reach a larger amount of the subscriber base in that time frame, and effectively 100% of homes that have broadband as well as a pay TV subscription. A lot of people ask about how to launch VidiPath. you know, I think the most important things are the visionary things. How do you want your user experience to be rendered on every device? I think one of the most important business things that operators can do as they launch VidiPath is to look at their guide experience and search, recommendation, and discovery to see that they have unified the linear, VOD, and DVR experiences together from a user perspective. I think it's also very important to think about how much text and how much, you know, what images you put into a TV experience at 10 feet away from the screen, you know, typically 55-inch type devices, as well as experiences for tablets and smartphones. You know, tablets are in some cases getting larger, smartphones also getting larger, but really to think about that experience, and I think VidiPath, the providers launching VidiPath, can help you to be very proactive about focusing first on your experience and second on the technology that sits behind it. So the next piece of technology is to license or develop a server stack. So it's possible to deliver the user experience or user interface either from a single cloud server that will serve all of your devices or from an in-gateway server. I think that it's likely satellite providers that don't control that broadband pathway may choose gateway-based user interfaces, so basically running an HTML5, you know, Apache type server on a gateway set-top box in the home and allowing the other devices in the home to authenticate to that, while cable providers might prefer a cloud-based UI because they have control of the broadband network and the IP network back to that, and likely a DOCSIS modem within the gateway that can access that content. Many operators already have HTML5 versions of the guide and DTCP IP in their gateway boxes for multi-room DVR type functions. So those pieces of the stack are likely there. In some cases, there is an HTML5 guide that has limited use case or applicability, while there might be, you know, a more classic middleware guide running on the set-top box. But it would be that HTML5 guide and experience that you would look to for porting to VidiPath. And so from the content delivery standpoint, you would leverage both the gateway and potentially an IP headend to deliver content. And it is possible to migrate to a headless gateway with VidiPath today, where essentially every screen in the home becomes a VidiPath screen. Again, you may use dongles to do that based on the home network you've deployed, the configuration of your consumers' homes, and you know, and the networking connectivity within people's homes. So there are many stack suppliers that are active in this space. On the VidiPath website, there's a list of technology components that are being delivered. There are several UI vendors that we know of and are aware of, include Opera and SBL, that are have HTML guides that have been ported to run on VidiPath server stacks. And then VidiPath clients can sit on top of RDK, Android, or other middleware stacks, especially if you're talking about a dongle device that you control. Obviously, within the CE environment, that would be running on, you know, Tizen or Android or whatever OS the CE manufacturer has. So now I'm going to take a second. I know that many operators are very worried about their licensing relationships and the ability to securely deliver content. So I'm going to turn it over to Michael to talk a little bit about DTCP IP. Michael. Michael, perhaps you're on mute still.
There we go.
Great.
You hear me now? Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, DTLA. I think a lot of people are familiar with DTCP. It's a link protection, supports current and new business model, can support higher, and we're looking at UHD 4K and 8K. It's in progress. If we can go to the next page, please.
Yeah, there is a bit of lag delivering it, but it should be there soon.
Yeah, there it is. Okay, so here's the big thing. We, DTLA, as we license many adopters, we also have a certain type of an adopter called content participant. And we have 3 of the major studios, Disney, Sony, and Warner, are content participants. So they actually have to pay to be an adopter or content participant. What this does is gives them change management. So whenever we update the spec, these 3 get a review and get to say no if it's a material change that they think is adverse. And so if you see the history of DTCP, it's been with the approval of these 3 companies. And the other studios license it. Typically, only one studio will get a license and tend to represent the others. But just like with HDCP, these 3 studios have been our long-term content participants. And then you can see we have many adopters, chip, table, TV, cable and satellite, player, recorder, and home media servers. Next page, please. And kind of wait here. The delay is fine. Here we go. And then just as for number 1, who approves DTCP, we're a link to be used in the home. There is some thought to use it from the head end to the home, and we're also looking at that. But right now we do, DLNA approves this. Cable Labs has us as an approved output. In Japan, there's a lot of terrestrial broadcasting companies that approve us of an output. We've been approved at AACS approved, like your Blu-ray players. And of course, the old DVD CCA. And then Open Mobile Alliance, and then RVU Alliance, and also Freeview UK and NZ have approved us as an output. Next page, please. Thanks. And right now, we do, it's interoperable. We have everyone's pretty familiar with HDCP. Every HDMI port has that on it. But that's an approved output. We also have Windows Media DRM as an approved output of DTCP. And then we also see a lot of professional hotels have their systems. They actually get the signal off a DTC output off a satellite box and then feed it around the hotel. And then, of course, we also have a bunch of approved recording and storage technologies. You can see here there's quite a list, AACS, CPRM, NGR, SAFA. Some you may not recognize, some you do. Okay, next page. I think we're done.
Great.
With
I think that's it. So no,
I think the one. Excuse me, Sam. The one thing I think I missed to say early on. The one thing you guys should know is, I think everyone's aware HDCP. There's a new version, HDCP 2.2, that had this higher requirement. We too at DTLA are looking to make what we call DTCP 2, and working with the studios in line with that to make it as robust and ubiquitously approved as HDCP 2.2. Thanks, Sam. Sorry.
Great. No problem. Good. So, so I know that we've spoken a little bit about business model here, and I think the real goal of a new technology rollout is to support the business model and the change in business model that's happening. So what we believe VidiPath can do is enable what we call a win-win-win, where the service provider can improve their profitability, the consumer gets a higher level of value, and the consumer electronics manufacturer gets some value for putting this and some, data or business benefit from working with the service provider on the provisioning of this system. So if you look across Europe today, there's a wide variation in price depending on the market. But a lot of operators have a programming fee of 20 to 30 euros, and then some fee related to, depending on the market, a lease or a rental of a receiver. And so, the video service ARPU might be in the 25 to 38 euro range. Perhaps if you have a household with 2 TVs, it sits a little bit higher. There is less consistent delivery within Europe of content to those second TVs than there is in the US, although certainly leading operators, have some of that. So what we would see with VidiPath, I think the programming fee would be largely unchanged. You may still have an equipment rental fee there for the gateway box. Certainly that continues to be delivered in the home. So perhaps, perhaps this total value could be even higher. But over time, I think there would be a transition to responding to the Netflix of the world by showing the extent to which content can reach every screen. And so to have some sort of programming fee, perhaps as low as 5 euros, perhaps going up to 10 euros, to deliver that live content to the second to fifth screen in the house. So really make a bundle, a value orientation for the average household that might have 2 TVs and 2 tablets, or 2 TVs, 2 tablets, and a smartphone, or 2 TVs, I should say, 1 tablet and a smartphone. And then there might be some advanced households that really want a large number of screens. And I think that those households have proven to have relatively high discretionary income. So to give them the ability to take it to more screens at some additional fee is valuable. So the goal in this setting is to increase the average revenue per subscriber, provide more value to the customer, and then have higher margins, hopefully. And I think there's still some room to provide consumer electronics incentives that offsets the cost that would have otherwise been spent on dongle-type devices. VidiPath also provides benefits in terms of the development cost. Largely and these vary largely depending on the size and scale of the operator. As with many technology things, the cost that you spend depends on your budget, and you can always do better, you can always do more, you can always do more testing, you can always tweak the experiences, you can always put more engineers on improving and optimizing. So this is designed to be, for a small to mid-scale operator. But the biggest thing that goes away is that a lot of the software ports go away because those are amortized by the CE manufacturers across their international footprint where VidiPath is enabled and in use. And so really your focus is, as we spoke about in the earlier slide on how to launch VidiPath, on getting a programming guide and licensing technology, on designing the experience for a big screen, and then designing the experience for the small screen. And in addition to the cost benefit, you see that you can get better penetration as the CE OEMs roll out VidiPath, so that you have a much wider footprint. And so there's in addition to having a savings in the deployment and development costs, you also have an increased penetration of consumers that can reach that. So VidiPath is actively developing cloud-based solutions, and as the slide comes up, essentially what happens in a cloud-based environment is that you have service discovery, you have the ability for a device, specifically a tablet device or a smartphone, to discover that service from the cloud. And then you can have adaptive delivery of DRM-protected content using the WC3 standards of media source extensions, encrypted media extensions, and web cryptography APIs directly to that device. And then this can be delivered both inside the home, supporting IP head-end content, so content that may be already there to deliver multi-screen experiences to tablets. And the updates will allow delivery of that outside the home, where you can now have an in-home and out-of-home experience. So the DLNA body is working on this very aggressively and has made tremendous progress in this in the last few months. I'm not going to go into the technology here. So I'm going to have a summary slide, and then we'll open it up to questions. So if you want to type any questions into the question window in your panel at any time now, then we'll be able to take those at the end. So the VidiPath summary, it brings media services and user experience into the home. Previous iterations of in-home technology have focused only on delivering a single video stream. This has a user interface attached to it, which allows you to take the experience that you want your customers to have, you want your consumers to see, your branding, your logo, your menuing system, and brings all of that to consumers. It has business benefits that help you manage your CapEx costs and reach devices with hybrid technologies while leveraging the broadcast delivery and also supporting broadband delivery. CE manufacturers can help to deliver premium content and get back to that single remote control and ensure that again, high-end display that a consumer provides with a good processor in it can be the single point of content, or single point of contact for the consumer. And consumers can get content on every device. The United States is already launching VidiPath actively in the service provider footprint. We believe that it will be available to 40% of U.S. cable households that subscribe to advanced services by 2016 and 70% by 2020. Again, the cloud technology that's there means that you can reach 100% of the advanced services footprint of subscribers in the 2017 timeframe after the spec is finalized and deployed in devices. And in Europe, there's a lot of devices already out there that can have a software upgrade to push server UI out there and the VidiPath discovery components. And I think that the real importance of thinking about this is to think about it from a business perspective and a technology perspective. So to give marketing relationships between CE manufacturers and operators that enable consumers to get those high-value TVs, those new flat panel TVs that they want, that will enhance their experience of the pay TV services in a way which is mutually beneficial for the service provider, the CE manufacturer, and the customer. So again, it's possible to deploy a VidiPath server to certify that. There are tools available, test tools available to make sure that your implementation is compliant and meets all of the necessary hooks. and certainly there's information on licensing, etc. And I invite you to take a moment after this to look on the DLNA channel on YouTube and watch a view of this coming from a recent conference in the United States showing the Comcast experience delivered to multiple devices. One of the very interesting things about this was there was an emergency alert that went out over the system at the time and was delivered effectively to the DLNA channel. So thank you. We're going to go ahead and take questions now. VidiPath will be at IBC, which I believe starts tomorrow, in Hall 14 in booth G15. So you can have a live demonstration there, or you can contact Megan to set up an appointment. Any questions? Megan, I believe you are going to take the questions and ask them.
Yes, I have a question. We've talked a lot about VidiPath server side. With the FCC mandate in the US, it's clear that servers will be available. Are we seeing traction from CE manufacturers? What's the outlook for client support?
Yeah, we are seeing CE manufacturers coming in. I think that 2 or 3 of the large TV OEMs are in the development and certification process. I know that they are being jointly tested with the service providers. Unfortunately, nothing is public at this time as to who those are and which model year they will be in, but I would expect we'll see something in the CES timeframe around VidiPath rollouts. And certainly the devices, the smart set-top box devices, the smart TV devices, especially that have been in the field since about 2012 model year and certainly 2013 model year have a technology platform which can support updates to that. So I think when the CE manufacturers do choose to do it, that they can roll it out to a good installation base of those devices in the field.
Thank you. Next question is, what do you estimate the percentage take rate on 2 to 5 screens?
I would expect that it would be extremely high. You know, it depends a lot by country, so I'd have to go and look at data on a country-by-country basis. I think that most consumers would either pay to have a second screen or a tablet or PC device, the rights to view that content. So in our model, you know, we treated it as 100%, while we treated the 6 to 10 screens at 50%. I think in Western Europe that would largely be the case. I think in markets with a lower average number of TVs, you know, 1.2 TVs per household, or or lower, you might see a lower take rate. But in general, I would expect it to be extremely high.
Thank you. Next question. CE and service providers have been trying to work together on a solution for TV everywhere for years. Why is VidiPath any different?
Yeah, I think that the biggest difference is that it can help to tame the number of platforms that service providers need to develop content for. And so I think that with service provider investment in business relationships, they can work with the CE manufacturers to incentivize it in a way that is beneficial over the cost of deploying even a thin client set-top box. So I think it's a business difference largely, but also a technology underpinning. The second difference, I think, is that there have been challenges around the experience delivery. And I think that most of the industry and most people have accepted that it is the service provider's domain to provide an experience, and that experience includes a UI. And so I think and I hope that consumer electronics manufacturers realize that while they may launch their own video services, that when they are delivering other video services, whether that be, you know, Netflix, Amazon, Comcast, UPC, etc., that experience comes with a user interface, and so I think that has become largely accepted. Any other questions, Megan?
I think we have time for about one more. What would you say is the top benefit for implementing VidiPath for operators?
I think the biggest benefit is the technology platform. I think that to have one HTML5 based technology platform will reduce a lot of maintenance that they've had with, you know, 2 apps and you know, or 2 apps and 5 different versions of devices, and certifying compliance with, you know, 4 different CE manufacturers, and bring that challenge back to a single certification point with the DLNA body, a single UI guide development. And so I think it's really about taming that technology jungle and the ability to reach multi-screen devices in home and out of home as we look into the you know, a time frame that's not too distant, you know, 1 year out or 2 years out. Okay. Well, thank you, Megan. Thank you to all of our participants. I see a really good audience online, and a very large audience staying in through the program based on the metrics we see on GoToWebinar. So I want to thank you very much. I want to thank DLNA very much. And I think, you know, VidiPath, it is an exciting time. I think there's great opportunities. And I think to start discussions, both in terms of licensing, getting your platforms ready, as well as working with CE manufacturers around those win-win-win business models, I think it's a great time to do that. So thank you to Michael for being on and helping to explain to us why DTCP is protected and the modes that DTCP supports. And any further questions Megan can distribute to the best expert within the DLNA body. Thanks, Megan.
Yeah, thank you both.
Thank you.
Okay, au revoir. Everyone have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.